job, in my opinion, of.
He really has, and Ronnie always said, he said, man, my throat, my, this was '77, and he's already going, my throat ain't gonna make it much longer. He said, I want to, just write and maybe manage a band and write, and then Steve came along, and that really opened up a lot of area for Ronnie, as far as he was concerned, but writing with Steve and
talk about him for a second, because as miraculous as it was how you ended up with that band, which I would consider it miraculous. I mean, meant to be maybe.
Yeah.
But Steve Gaines, same way. His sister was a backup singer with the other two girls that we can see in the background there. Cassie Gaines was his sister, who was already in the band. Right?
Yeah, but when that situation came about, Cassie went to Ronnie and said, "Hey, my little brother, is playing up the road in a bar, and can you think maybe he could get in and sit in and jam with us?" And that wasn't presented really in the proper way, because Gary and Alan went, "Man, we can't be letting Cassie's brother coming here playing in a local bar up the road coming and jam with us, man. We're big time now. We can't do that, But she didn't really let them understand that he wasn't just some kid that had been playing in a bar. He was getting a name for himself. He was been up in Detroit, and he had that band called Crawdad, and they had some recordings, and some of the stuff that they recorded on that last album, you got that right and stuff. That was probably that stuff that Steve, that was some of Steve's stuff. Steve had a lot of influence on that. So, I think if Steve wouldn't have got with Skynyrd, he would have made it on his own. He'd been up there in Detroit,
But his sister kept it up, didn't she? I mean, it sounded like she didn't pitch it very well, but she got the job done.
As soon as I remember Ronnie telling Kevin, he says, "Man, if he sucks, just turn him off." So it came around where he was going to do his thing, and Ronnie said, "Okay, show us what you got." Man, he took off with that slide guitar, and Ronnie went. Everybody just went, "Whoa," And then Ronnie said, "Have another," and he took that slide and threw it down and took off. And Alan looked over the amp at me and said, "He's the one."
Yeah,
we found our third guy, man. I mean, it was that fast.
And that was after Ed King left for the.
Ed King left. They tried everybody. They let all kind of people come up and jam with them for, with Mr. Breeze and Crossroads at the end of the show. They had.
I thought T for Texas, wasn't that?
T for Texas, yeah.
That was the jam tune.
There's like three songs they would have people come out and jam with them. It'd been Leslie West for a long time. Was out there.
Yes, but I know a little bit of that story. Leslie West said he wanted to call it Lynyrd Skynyrd featuring Leslie West on guitar, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll get right on that.
Yeah, I mean it was yeah, but it's that thing with the Steve. It was like immediate. Alan looked over the amp at me and said, "He's the one."
Wow.
We found him. It was really cool, and it was from right there. He was hired.
Isn't that something?
Cool.
I mean, yeah. So I heard it was in not that it matters, but in Myrtle Beach. Is that right? He came.
Yeah, Grand Strand Music. Yeah. And he showed up early in the day, and I says, "Man, you want to smoke a joint?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." So me and him sat around all afternoon and just smoked pot all afternoon.
Oh.
And he wasn't intimidated at all about it. Him getting with Lynyrd Skynyrd and you have to get up there and, "Oh man, I got to keep it together." He just burned them down all day long, and just no big deal.
Wow.
Wow. there was something magical about that group. I don't know how in the world, you know, and I'm doing all the talking. Ryan,
It's
I don't
all
know
right.
if you got any. I know a lot of this history, as you know.
Yeah.
But Ryan asked me about. He said, "Did Craig ever make it to the Hell House? How did that all fit in? Were you part of?"
Yeah. Well, when I first, went down to Florida with them, me and Ed King and Bob Burns were all staying at the 8 Days Inn. It was $8 a day, and so the band had to take turns spending the night at the Hell House. So it got to be Gary's turn, and he just didn't want to play, didn't want to stay, and I'd already been down there a few days, and I went, well hell man, I'm just staying in there at the 8 Days Inn. I said, shit man, I'll just stay out here, ain't no big deal. And he said, oh man, that'd be cool, So he went out and lifted up a piece of cow poop and pulled a psilocybin mushroom under it and gave it to me. They handed me a 22 rifle and said, "Here you go." So yeah.
Good night.
First night at the Hell's House, eating mushrooms.
Shooting alligators. I'm going to write that song. Staying in the Hell House, eating mushrooms, shooting alligators.
There was no outside light out there, man. It was the middle of a cow pasture down by the swamp, man. It was spooky out there. I mean, you go outside, there could be a gator sitting outside the door there. Plus, there was bull. There was a cow patch. There was bull. There was a bull that wasn't real happy that people were there. That bull used to mess with everybody, and it was messing with Leon one day, and Leon got down, picked up a rock, and threw it, hit that bull right between the eyes, knocked that bull out. Everybody thought, you killed John's bull, you killed those bulls. It just knocked him out. But that bull never did mess with Leon anymore.
If Ryan will bear with me here, you were talking about Leon Wilkeson, the bass player, right there. Now, tell us how he didn't end up in your tool shed. He ends up at your house and stayed there, right?
Well, yeah. He stayed here. We were going to the house while he was getting another divorce, and I goes, "Where you going, Leon?" He said, "Tell you the truth, I don't really know."
Well, let me interrupt you. You had been like to Europe or someplace coming. Is that right? Coming home?
We were coming back from somewhere, and he got a divorce. And I said, "So where you headed to?" He goes, "I don't really got no place." Him and his last wife had just split up. I goes, "Well, come and stay with me until you figure." He says, "Okay." So he come here, and he stayed here with me for a couple years. But I got some friends that he became real good friends with, and he would go. There's a friend of mine, Doyle Baird, and his dad was a middleweight boxing champion, and Doyle's a pretty big boy, so he would take Leon out running around. And I wasn't afraid to let Leon go with him because nobody messed with Doyle, So yeah, Doyle would take him all around. I seen him the other night. He was telling me, man, he said, when you come over and pick Leon up to fly him down to Atlanta to do something, he goes, the cops were looking for me. He said there was some girl that we had, and she was walking along the road, and the cops picked her up, and she was walking, and she said some things to them that made the police don't want to get Leon.
Uh-oh. Well, time to go on tour, boys.
I just stepped Leon out at Atlanta just in time.
Wow.
She was claiming things that Leon did, that weren't,
So I was talking to Craig. I'm talking to Ryan about Craig now. I was talking to Craig, and he said that Leon used to say, "Man, can I borrow some clothes or I guess he didn't have a lot of stuff with him. And he said he'd go out at night in my best vests and different jackets and give them away because people were like, "Oh my God, you're in
What?
you're in Lynyrd Skynyrd. Can I have your jacket?"
I got in London, and he black vest. He goes, "Man, you got a vest I can wear?" I said, "Leon, don't give this away, man. I got this in London. I really like it." It's gone. So after he got a couple of vests, stage vests that he paid a lot of money for him. And after one of his tours, he said, "Here, man," he said, "this is for that vest I borrowed off you." I still have it. If I'd known we were going to talk about it, I'd show it.
Oh, well,
That's
we got to
cool.
do that again soon. But here's the thing. You said he paid $2,000 for that vest. That was
What?
$2,600 for that vest. Yeah.
Whoa.
He bought some really cool. He bought some cool custom clothes, boots, and vests and stuff. He paid a lot of money for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, that's fun.
Custom made from these designers. They think it's gold or something. It's pricey.
Well,
Man, yeah.
so Ryan, I'd jump in here anytime. I don't know if you have any questions. I was just trying to talk about some of the history of this because it's so interesting to me. And
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to mess up the timeline here because you're kind of good at guiding these conversations, but I was curious what it was like to be on a round the world tour, just seeing different crowds every night and what that was like.
Yeah, I did 3 of them, with, Journey, Skinner, Journey, and Foreigner. And at the time, they were all really big, that was the second album, especially Journey with the women. Oh my God, they were just, they were really a chick band, but yeah.
Which years were you doing this with this world tour with Journey, for example? I'm trying to place it in my history.
79, is that what you're asking?
Yes, that is so funny because I mean that's when we were listening to those vinyl records in '79, and when I was a 9-year-old kid, I never thought I'd be sitting here with you today. So I'm just pinching myself.
Journey was cool. Me and Steve Perry and I got to be pretty good friends. He nicknamed me Blade. Well, Greg Raleigh. Me and Greg Raleigh ran around a lot together.
he's my hero. He's my hero because he played a Hammond.
In LA, in his Rolls Royce, and pull up to the Troubadour and stuff, and we would pull up and just get out of the car. There's a line of people all the way down the street trying to get in, and we'd pull up in Greg's Rolls and just get out and walk right in. Yeah, that kind of stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll bet.
Greg Raleigh was Santana's organ player, 1969, first time on stage.
From Santana, yeah.
And I love his Hammond B3.
Him and Neil Sean both. Neil Sean was in Santana when he was 16.
Wow. Well, that was the first time they ever played in front of an audience, 1969 at Woodstock. Can you imagine? It's like, hey, we're going to go out now. We're getting ready to play out. Where are you going to play? In front of 500,000 of our closest friends.
Wow.
That's good. And then he leaves there and goes to Journey, right? Form Journey.
Well, yeah, but Journey was together for a couple years before they got Steve Perry. They were kind of like a fusion rock band.
But I mean, Greg Raleigh was there in the beginning. He formed that band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Him and Neil formed it, I guess. Him and Neil. And
and then
Valerie and Carmen Appice. That was their original drummer.
Well, so what was it like running with that? I mean, Ryan kind of asked. I interrupted with my Raleigh background story there, but he asked what it was like touring the world with a band like that, man.
Yeah, you're with the best promoters, and so there's always parties, and you're always, going to parties, and you're staying in the best hotels and traveling the best, and it's like, it's really cool. I mean, being a roadie with a lot of bands is kind of almost just like being one of the band members. I mean, you're doing everything they're doing, you know. Yeah, you're just not up on stage. You're doing everything they do. You're doing, you know, depending on what your job is. But I always went and did everything the band did. I did, you know. It's like with Skynyrd. God, even at home, you know, I did everything they did, you know. So, you know, it's just we basically lived the same life, except I wasn't out there on in the spotlight. I was up on that stage, but I wasn't throwing people off and stuff. but I wasn't playing a guitar, you know.
I mean, you enjoyed the clout of being with those guys and being with those bands, and what did you think about that?
Did it make sense at the time? I mean, did you realize of like, wow, this is
well,
kind of...
yeah. I mean, you know, I started with Skynyrd, so it was like I paid my dues because we played for when I first was Skynyrd, we opened up for everybody. You know, I mean, they didn't start out headlining. We were opening up for Grinder Switch and Wet Willie and Hydra, and we opened up for Brownsville Station, and you know, all REO, Blue Oyster Cult, you know, Aerosmith, you know, Charlie Daniels was always opened up for us, but Marshall Tucker, you know, I mean, we played with everybody, just
including the Rolling Stones.
Do what?
Including the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. But you know, we had to open it. We played with the New York Dolls, and we opened up for everybody. You know, so you know, we didn't start out on top. I mean, I had to start out driving the trucks, you know, as a roadie, and you work all day long, and then you get done with the stuff. You had to get in the truck and drive the truck all night, and then start over again. And there was a lot of nights without sleep, you know.
Talk about your day. What did your day? I mean, that's interesting. What did your day consist of?
Well, depending on where I was, you know, with Skynyrd, I mean, it was after they got bigger, you know, it was like, well, I traveled with the crew sometimes, and I traveled, when the tribute tour first started, I toured I traveled with the band. I traveled on the Milk and Cookies bus. Harry's bus, and you know, it was supposed to be the Milk and Cookies bus, and then the other bus was Leon, and all the alcoholics were over on that bus. But there wasn't much difference between the Milk and Cookies bus and the alcoholic bus that they did through.
They just started later in the day, right?
It was just different names. They were both just as bad.
So that's, I mean, they got a lot of equipment. I mean, is that like a 3 semi-truck project, or?
Yeah. Well, as a guitar roadie, you know, the trucks get there, and the first thing that goes out in is the rigging, and then they put in the lights, and then they put in the sound, and then the band gear goes in, and then you know, as a guitar roadie, I didn't have to be in the building until the band gear came off the truck, which was, you know, 10 o'clock or something. But the basic load in was like 8, you know. But